Hi, my name is Albertsen. I'm a psychologist and researcher. I come from a small company in Denmark called Team Working Life. Today I will share some experiences and results from a large intervention study about increased influence on working time or self-rostering, which I've done together with colleagues from my former workplace, the National Research Centre for the Working Environment in Copenhagen, and researchers from Roskilde University Centre. The main purpose of the study was to shed light on positive as well as negative consequences of self-rostering on the individual level and at the company level. Does self-rostering increase, in fact, the influence on own schedule? Does it change the vicious of schedule? Does it influence the work-life balance, the health and other social consequences for the employees? And also are there differences for different age groups and gender and different schedules? The interventions that took place were actually naturally occurring experiments in the way that we as a research team did not influence the interventions at all. The workplaces had chosen the intervention, they had chosen to take up the interventions, they financed and they implemented the interventions themselves. We simply evaluated the effects. We advertised in newspapers and in the internet for workplaces who were on their way planning to introduce more self-rostering, and then we had some selection criteria in order to choose which work sites could participate in the study. And it was a requisite for participating that they should have implemented an IT software program in order to increase influence on schedule for the employees. They were also requested to find a reference group for each of the workplaces. So we ended up with a sample with about 800 employees from 28 different work sites, and half of them were from reference work sites. We did survey before the intervention started and 1 year after the intervention had been implemented. We also conducted qualitative interviews with key stakeholders and representatives from the employees, and we collected objective recordings of the working hours. And we repeated all the measures after 1 year where the intervention had been completed. And what did we find? In fact, we found the 14 intervention workplaces had decided to implement 3 different kinds of IT software introducing self-rostering. The 3 softwares were quite similar and they had almost the same possibilities, but the way in which they were implemented differed a lot. And therefore we decided to divide the 14 workplaces into 3 main groups. At one of the workplaces, in one of these groups, the main objective of the intervention was to improve workers' well-being and job satisfaction in order to increase recruitment and minimize turnover from the workplace. They did a quite comprehensive intervention with a lot of variability, possibilities for variability in shifts among the employees, and also with quite a lot of organizational changes. In one of the other groups, the main objective was almost the same, to increase workers' well-being and job satisfaction in order to improve recruitment and retention at the job, but the interventions was much less comprehensive. And in the third group, the main objective differed. The main objective was in this group to improve or optimize the possibilities for staffing for the management. The possibility to obtain most flexibility in order to obtain the best staffing resources. And what we found from the study was that in fact the kind of intervention did matter, and the objective behind the intervention did matter for the effects. We found positive effects on health and well-being and work-life balance and job satisfaction, both in Group A and in Group B, the groups which have the main objective to increase workers' well-being and satisfaction. However, we also found some negative effects in Group C, the group of workplaces where the main objective was to increase employee flexibility. We also found quite large differences from one work site to another within the same group of interventions. So the context of the individual intervention seems to matter a lot. And to sum up, the results from the study was that there are some large potentials in increasing influence on own schedule or self-rostering in shift work. It seems as though most of the employees and also many of the employers were very satisfied with the intervention, and in fact they continued to use these tools for self-rostering after we had concluded our study. We found positive effects on a lot of measures of health and well-being and work-life balance, but there's also some pitfalls. If you are aware to try to implement self-rostering at your work site, you should be aware that it is in fact a sensitive matter for the employees, and it is very important to be aware of the specific context at the workplace and also of the feedback you get from the employees in order to make the best kind of intervention.